Good afternoon and welcome to your daily support call. Today I am with Carol Cureatz, mom, worker at a grocery store. So essential service, frontline worker during the pandemic. Carol, thanks for being with us today.
You're welcome.
So tell us a bit about what life was like before COVID-19.
Oh, well, I liked going to work. I thought it was the easiest job. It was kind of what I called the no-brainer job. I just go in, I do my job. I've been there for 3 years and I work 6 days a week. So I have a lot of regular customers I would see. Loved seeing them, loved seeing my coworkers. And that was about it. Just looked forward to going every day and loved being there. Loved my coworkers, my management, my supervisors.
Okay, and the rest of your life. So you are a mother and a
Yeah.
wife. So what does the rest of your life look like outside of work?
Before the pandemic, it
Correct.
was I have a 5-year-old little girl, so she would go to school every day. While she was in school, I would be in school online doing all my schoolwork, plus the daily keeping the house, tidied and clean and making meals, all the mom and wife kind of things. And then I'd pick her up from school. We'd spend some time together and then I would go to work. So I work 4 nights a week and I work Saturdays and Sundays because my husband works Monday to Friday during the day.
Okay, so in many ways, you were living the very same type of life that a lot of couples lived. One parent or both parents works during the day while the kid's at school. You're doing some education as well, which isn't uncommon. And of course, being able to have one of you at home at any time for the daughter meant that you would work evenings, he would work during the day. So
Yes.
interesting but common dynamic, nothing
Yes.
unusual. And like you said, you worked at a grocery store, not something traditionally that people would think of as a high stress, a highly essential job. You've got
No.
regular customers, look forward to speaking with them. And all of that disappeared overnight.
Yes.
So what has your new norm become? But even before we get that far, what was it like a month ago?
Chaos.
Well, tell us about it
It
though. Like,
was
what was different from your regular customers that you used to know and love and look forward to seeing? How are they now?
um, pretty non-existent. A lot of them only come in when they absolutely have to. Some of them do come in regularly still, and to be honest, I really don't look at them the same way right now. I question why they're there every day. I question why they have to come in constantly right now to just grab 2 or 3 things, because they shouldn't be. They should be just grabbing stuff for a week or two and then see you in a couple of weeks. And
Right.
I'm very nice to them, but in my head, I want to question them, but I can't, because for one, that's rude, and for two, it's not really my place to question them, even though you really want to.
Well, I mean, let's be honest with each other. That's what this is about. This isn't about what's right or what's wrong or what we should do and shouldn't do. This is about being open and honest with each other and with our audience. So, I mean, everybody judges instantly,
Mm-hmm.
regardless, back
Mm-hmm.
in normal times. People that are like, oh, I'm not judgmental. You are. You just don't want to admit
Yeah.
it to yourself, because we all make very quick judgments. So here you are. You've built up relationships with people. You used to look forward to seeing them every day. It would brighten up the
Mm-hmm.
day. And now those same people kind of like frustrate you, disgust you a little, and you're like, don't you get it that if you keep coming out every single day, then all of us are at risk and all of us have to go through this even longer? Why can you not just stay home like we're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to? And
Mm-hmm.
of course, you don't want to say that to them because, one, you don't want to lose your job. Even though I've heard some really interesting stories about what things have been said during the last month, and
Mm-hmm.
basically no one gets fired right now. So that's
No.
interesting. But yeah, I mean, why do you not suggest it? What stops you from saying, hey, have you ever thought that, it might be safer for you if you only came in once every week or once
Um,
every 2 weeks?
I chat with the customers about that kind of bring it up on their own. It's more the mentality of, I just go in there, I got to do my job, I got to get people out, as quick as I can. But there's a lot of waiting that the customers have to do too. So it's more, I have the mentality of now when I go in, who's going to fight with me tonight? Which one of you are going to fight with me tonight? Because there's always one or two or 10.
Wow. So that's not normal. That's not how it used
No,
to be. So
but
what's going on there? So that's a regular
it,
thing now, people
it
verbally
is.
fighting with you?
Yeah, they verbally fight with me, and I had a backbone before this, but now I have a huge backbone because I've also learned through the past month that no matter what, my supervisors and the store owner have our back no matter what, because they get it as well. But so I speak up and I tell them that if they don't like it, they can leave because this is how it is and this is the rules. Or if they want to stand and argue with me, I can do it all night long with them as well. I've said that to gentlemen before too, because I'm not backing down, because I am there risking my life and they are not.
That's just it, right? I mean, you are a frontline worker at this point, like equally valued as a nurse or a doctor in some ways, because you are out there putting yourself at risk for others so that they can take care of their families. I mean, you talked about having a 5-year-old girl at home. I mean,
Yeah,
wow, if you didn't have to be there, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be. You'd rather be at home with her safe and sound.
I would, but I'm there also for her because I need to raise her and I need the money to raise her.
Right. So need the money. You know what? We'll talk about that in a minute, but
Okay.
how interesting, like, I mean, I get it. First of all, congratulations on the bosses and your supervisors and your team and management having your back. That is an amazing thing right now because everybody is processing fear differently. I read this interesting thing about how this pandemic has not changed who you are. It's simply revealed who you are. And that,
Absolutely.
yeah, and that's so very true of any stressful situation. We can all be wonderful in society when we're at our best, but as soon as something doesn't go our way, I mean, in the old world, as a grocery clerk, you may have seen once a week, once or 2 weeks, someone just loses it on you and you're like, hey, I know this isn't about me. This is obviously about something they're going through. But right now we're all going through something unprecedented and no one knows how to
Yeah.
react. Do you have a lot of people that are showing kindness though and do appreciate
Yes.
you and acknowledge you? Okay.
Yeah. I would say for every one nasty person, you get about 20 amazing people. And those are actually the people that bring me to tears because they honestly have true, genuine thank yous. Like they honestly stop and say, no, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you're doing. Stay safe. And those are the ones that do bring me to tears because it makes me feel good that I'm there because it is terrifying to be there right now.
Right. I mean, you've seen some of the things early on with the fights for toilet paper and hand
Yeah.
sanitizer. I've seen some places now that even impose, quantity limits, and people
Yeah.
ignore them and then lose their mind when they try to be
Yeah.
enforced. It's kind of ridiculous in some ways. And more than anything, especially here in Canada, I'm so grateful to be in Canada, first of all, but our self-entitlement is really starting to show that we
Yeah.
believe that we're the only thing. I always have thought this, that we're all so self-centered and self-entitled that we're not even aware of things around us within 6 feet. One of my biggest pet peeves in grocery stores is when someone just randomly stops their cart in the middle of the lane and just walks over and starts doing their thing, looking at some food, completely oblivious to the world around them. And now doing that actually poses risk because you're affecting not just, some people that might be in a rush, but you're actually affecting people's healths by not being conscious of what's going on around you. Now, escalating tensions, escalating emotions, new rules, and people don't like change and having to be 6 feet apart just to get in the door. What else has changed? Last time I saw pictures of you online, you were wearing the face mask. What else is different in your work environment than before?
We have plexiglasses surrounding us at the registers
Surrounding
now.
you, like full
Yep.
surrounding you or just in front of you?
Front and back.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. So you're secure from physical attacks then as well.
Yes, because,
That's
well,
wonderful.
to a point. I mean, it only goes a certain distance, certain width, but most people are respectful to stay behind it as much as they can. It's just, we have the plexiglass behind us that slides, because sometimes we try and have every other register, but sometimes if it's busy, we have to be side by side. So the plexiglasses are there to kind of protect us from people behind us at the next register. We wear gloves, and we have to wash our hands every 15 to 20 minutes.
Wow.
So my hands are red and raw and bleeding constantly, but yeah, you have to. What else is different? We only take one person at a time at the registers, so that's different as well. And people, that's where you're finding that people are getting the most aggravated, is the waiting, because they have to wait to come into the store. Then there's a different lineup to wait to even be told which register to go to. And then they have to wait when they get to the register for the next person to completely be packed up their groceries and to be gone before they can be served. So this is where you really see who has patience and who doesn't.
Well, and I find that interesting, because if we are doing what we should, where are they in a hurry to get back to? Home?
Well, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, we've done one grocery run in our household since this all started. So we went to
Yep.
Costco, and they've got, massive lineups and everything else. Same
Yep.
kind of thing, only one register at a time. And it's unbelievable. It destroys my belief in humanity to hear the words that come out of some people's mouths. And
Yep.
part of me wants to interfere. It's the hero complex I have, but instead I just generally just laugh out loud, like at the person having their mini tantrum. And sometimes that laughter, it directs their anger towards me, which I'm okay with. Other times it makes them realize just how infantile they're being, and sometimes they stop. But regardless, I go out of my way to make sure that not only do I respect the rules that the workers are giving us, but to thank them and appreciate each and every one of them. Because it is brutal out there. I mean, the way we dealt with fear, my wife and I, is we accepted that we have the virus. It was the only way, because otherwise we were so afraid that, going anywhere we might get it, it was causing stress, it was causing insomnia. So we just accepted, you know what, let's just accept we have it. And then how would that alter our behavior towards others? And that's why we've mostly stayed at home. And I honestly, I wish people would take it not seriously enough that they're freaking out, buying into some of the propaganda and some of the manipulation that has happened on government levels and corporate levels. But the truth is, this is a global pandemic, and there are people dying, and it is spreading faster than anything else in recorded history. People need to take it seriously enough and accept the fact that they have it, most likely, even if they aren't showing symptoms. And then how does that affect you? Because if you take that mentality, that means you have to accept that you're coming home every day and infecting your daughter.
Yeah, home life has definitely changed a lot.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about that then. That's a great segue. So we talked about how things used to be, how things were a month ago, probably even up till today in a way. But what does your new normal look like as a household?
My new normal is every morning I have to disinfect my house from top to bottom, because not only am I out of the house working, but my husband is as well. So we don't know if we've brought it home with us. We don't know if we've touched something and then touched something in the house that it's living on. So I have to walk around my house every morning and disinfect every light switch, every doorknob, every bathroom, everything in the bathroom, every remote, everything that my daughter could potentially touch. And that takes time away from my daughter, which is hard, but it's necessary. During the week in the evening when I get home, it's not so bad because my husband and daughter are in bed. But let's talk about the weekend. When I walk in the door and my daughter runs up to me to say hi and wants a hug, I can't hug her.
Right.
I have to tell her to stop, and that we will do it when I'm done showering, because I don't want to infect her. And the scariest is knowing that, yes, I could catch this. Maybe I do have it, or maybe I will get it. And if I get it and she doesn't, it means I have to be isolated from her for 2 weeks, which would kill me, because she would not like that either. She would not understand that. She understands what's happening to an extent, but if I ended up getting it and having to be isolated from her, she would not understand why.
Yeah. And I think that right there, that emotion you shared, I think if even people at the grocery stores or where they're going, if they understood what their ignorance and idiocy, their choice to just be so self-centered that they don't think about the families they could literally be devastating.
Mm-hmm.
That's what angers me, is
Mm-hmm.
that, someone could be too close just for 20 seconds and
Mm-hmm.
bam, that chain effect just could ruin someone's life.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I wish people could see that. I mean, and there's conversations about, what if this was like the zombie apocalypse instead of,
Mm-hmm.
a microscopic germ? Would people react differently? Imagine the news. Well, today there's only 3 zombies out in the park, so you might be able to go, but it is a little risky. I mean, you wouldn't go anywhere.
No.
There's 3 zombies in the park. I'm not going anywhere. And yet this
Yeah.
virus is everywhere, but because people can't see it, oh, it doesn't exist. It can't hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it
It's
just
fine.
kills me.
Well, it's just like the cold or common flu. It'll be fine.
Yeah, except the numbers say otherwise for the most part.
Yeah.
And here's what I guess, again, people don't know, and we're judging, and that's fine. Everyone has their story. We don't know
Mm-hmm.
what people are going through either, and I completely get
Mm-hmm.
that. But I also know your husband is a frontline worker in a way as well. Why don't you tell us a
Mm-hmm.
bit about what he does?
So he is the cook at the men's shelter in town. So he is very essential, because if he's not there, then a lot of people don't eat. So it's good and it's bad for him, because what they did 2 weeks ago was they moved all the homeless men out of where they were and put them in another place where they could be kind of socially distanced a little better while they were sleeping, etc. So my husband is now working by himself, essentially in the old building that they were in, cooking. However, he has to deliver the food. So he has the same scenario. He has to put his gloves on. He has to wear his mask. He can't touch anything. It's terrifying for him going to deliver the food, because the homeless people don't do what they're supposed to do either. They are supposed to stay in the building at all times, but they do not. They come and go as they please. You don't have any idea where they've been, and then they come back to sleep or what have you. So you don't know what they've been doing or what they've been carrying, or even if they have it. So same thing, he has to get home. We disinfect the car when each of us gets out of it. We wipe down the whole car on the inside, because we don't know. And then same thing, he has to come home, and the first thing he does is shower. And let's just kind of move into, even as a husband and wife, our relationship has changed, and it's really hard right now, because we made the decision that both of us are out of the house. We don't know if we're carrying it. We don't want to give it to each other or our daughter. So there's really no physical contact between us at all, ever, because we don't know what's happening. And for me personally, it's extremely hard. It's played a lot of emotional game with me, and mental game in my head, because I'm a physical person. I need that touch. I need that hug. I need that, I guess, reassurance, especially from the person that's supposed to love me the most in the world. And right now we're not getting it.
Well,
But
we all need that. And I think that's
it's
what's
necessary.
really a lot of people. Oh, it's so necessary. Yeah, I get it's necessary to implement those steps. And I think that's where a lot of people are losing their minds. This is exactly what you said. I mean, we are humans, and humans are social. We need to be connected. And I'm fortunate right now, because my wife and I stay home the entire time. We're still physically in contact with each other.
Yeah.
Whereas, you're in a situation where you cannot, because you're both such high risk being on the front lines. I mean, back to your husband for a minute. We're not saying anything bad about the homeless, but the truth is you were talking earlier about washing your hands so often that they're cracked and blue, right? I don't think hygiene standards are going to be to that level inside of the homeless shelter, because how do you enforce something like that? You really cannot. And yet, what do you just leave the homeless to die because they're not as hygienic?
Exactly.
Of course you don't. So you've got your husband in a highly volatile situation in the best of times, let alone in something that spreads through, being in close proximity to others. And hygiene is a way to defeat it. And yet he's around a group that is specifically not hygienic, ignoring rules. Then you've got, the other side of the spectrum, the civilized people in theory, who don't know the emotions that are going on, that are so full of self-entitlement that all they care about is their immediate need and are they okay. And this is where it's an interesting thing, and this whole concept of flattening the curve and how do we do it. I mean, Canada, I actually have a colleague of mine who has taken the actual data that's been released every day and done some nice math modeling with it. And it paints a different story, of course, than what the news tells us, and shows that we're actually flattening the curve really, really well, and that by April, scientifically, data model wise, things should be under control. Now, him and I talk about this every few days, and what I told him is that's great as far as pure science goes, but what the government and other people are looking at is human nature and how stupid we are. I have a phrase I say, none of us are as stupid as all of us. And it's essentially, sure, you release the actual numbers and say to everybody, guess what? We'll have this under control by April, right? End of April. Then for May 1st, everyone goes outside and it gets worse than it ever was, right? So you have to balance that kind of thing out. Now, I am curious, and I want to talk about this if you're willing, is
Sure.
earlier you mentioned you guys still have to go to work because you want to be able to take care of your daughter financially. So
Yes.
there's so many things right now going on. There's CERB for people that can't work, $2,000 a month. I don't know what the wage is like at a grocery store, but is it more than $2,000 a month?
It's not. The only thing is it's a waiting game for all of those government fundings as well.
Right.
For me, it's not. However, I have chosen to go to work because I'm proud to do it as well. Because there's a lot of my coworkers that can't work right now, whether they are older and they have chosen not to because they're higher risk, or whether they are coworkers that have immunes that are compromised so they can't, or whether they have simply just chosen not to. Like a lot of our younger cashiers at work who are teenagers have chosen not to work at this time. So whether it's a parent thing that they've said, no, you can't go to work, or they've chosen not to as well. So it's tough at work because a lot of our coworkers are not there. So I personally am proud to be able to step up to the plate because I do have a strong immune system. And I am able to do this right now, even though it is terrifying and stressful and heartbreaking and you name it. But I'm proud to help our community as well.
Got it. So on the one hand, sure, you could stay home, be zero risk, and get $2,000 a month from the government. Cash flow might be a little tight until that back payment comes in and what have you.
Yeah.
But that's not even what it's about for you. I mean, obviously you love your daughter and your husband more than anything else on the planet. But at the same time, to your point, right now is an opportunity to serve others, to be a human being that stands up when called upon. In many ways, it's kind of like those that are able to fight in a war. And this is an invisible war that we can't see, as we talked about earlier, but you're choosing to put yourself and your family at risk so that other families might survive.
Yes.
And is that
And
something you would continue to do? Or if that money just started coming in, would you slowly reduce hours, or do you think your commitment level would be the same?
I think my commitment level would probably be the same because when I'm committed to something, I'm committed. But I also, on the other hand, feel that the government is there to help people that right now that 100% truly need it. So the ones that have no choice and can't work because their workplaces are closed, or the ones that are immune compromised and can't work, or the elderly, or etc. I feel that if I took the money just because I chose to, that I would almost feel guilty for that, even though it is there for me, because I am able to still work and make my own money. I don't want to take the government money if I don't have to.
Okay. So because it's an essential service, you know, you still have a job to go to and you would rather go and earn your keep kind of thing.
Yes.
So let me ask you this then, because the conservative estimates for the quarantine is 9 to 12 months at this point. So what's happening is we're normalizing this new structure you have, this not touching your husband, this always being terrified for your daughter, this having to be stressed at work because people are stressed. That's the new normal for a while. Is that does that have any influence on whether you would take the money or whether you would continue to go based on all those things you just said, knowing that it's not short term, but that this might actually be how things are for the next year?
Being the new norm, I think I would get used to it in a sense. Like even I think back to 3 weeks ago, I was having an anxiety attack almost every single time I was walking through the doors at work. I'm not having anxiety attacks anymore, even though it's stressful, but it's almost like I'm already starting to get used to it in a sense. So probably would I continue? Maybe. It's hard to say. You never know what the future holds. You never know what's in your future. It would also depend on if any of us did actually contract COVID and what that meant. I mean, it's terrifying in the fact too, because there is an immune compromised person in my house. My husband is immunocompromised. He has asthma. So he doesn't stress about himself at work because he's by himself. He's always stressing about me bringing it home to him. And yeah, that's stressful, but I also have the mentality that I hope if any of us got it, that we would all survive it. But again, you don't know. It's always in the, I don't know. And I don't want to play my life as an, I don't know. I'm just taking it day by day. So yeah, I don't know in 9 to 12 if I would
so
still
now
work.
let's be really cynical for a moment.
Okay.
What you just said, I don't know, I can't play my life by I don't knows. That almost sounds like every single customer that walks into your grocery store. Meh, I'm not going to live my life in fear, and if I happen to get it, hope I survive.
It does.
Right. So here's the thing though, what we've been told and what we've really been wanting to learn as a society, and this goes back to that earlier conversation, is that it's not about us getting it and us surviving. It's about what I started with earlier about how we already have it.
Yeah.
Let's not infect others. So if you already had it today, let's just play this game a little bit.
Yeah.
If you had it, you just found out during this call with me, oh my God, I'm the first person to find out that you tested positive for COVID-19. How would your life change today?
It would be horrible.
So why would you risk that? That's the question. Again, no judgments here. I'm just exploring conversation, but why risk that? Right? Like you don't have to be at work. Like no one's telling you we absolutely 100% must have you there. So even though you do have a sense of pride about it and you're stepping up to the plate, and in many ways, I think that's incredibly admirable. But at the end of the day, how is that different than people that are saying, meh, I just hope I'll be fine if I get it? How do you see that differently?
That's a tricky question.
Yeah.
I see it different because I'm there choosing to make money for my family, where a customer comes in and is just choosing to buy 1 can of beer or choosing to come in and buy 1 loaf of bread, where they don't like, do they really need that? Where right now, yes, I could take the government money, so I don't really need my money, but it's also a sense of normalcy for me, I think, which again, probably customers too, where it's I need the normalcy of going to work and giving me something to do, or else it might play a bad mental game on me. I suffer from anxiety. I suffer from depression way in the past. I've never had any issues with it in years, and it's all crept up in the last month. So I think I do need some normalcy right now in order to keep myself afloat in a sense.
And that I think is as far as I'll push, because that nails it right there. Is normal's gone. That old normal is gone. And so
It
many
is.
people, yourself included, in many ways, we're all still clinging to it. We're all still hoping this goes away quickly so that we can get back to normal. But I'm telling you 100% that's not going to happen, because let's look at some practical examples for you. So you talked about how there's this plastic shielding now, plexi shielding, right? Do you really think in the new world, the new normal, as things start to, get to whatever new normal is, and we're allowed to go out again even, can you really see companies tearing those plexiglass shields down?
Heck no, especially because of how much they cost. But
Exactly,
heck
right?
no,
Companies are investing
no,
millions of dollars in all of these things
they
to
are.
help prevent the spread of COVID. They're not just going to suddenly be like, well, we never had these in the past, so let's just tear them all down again. No, this
Yeah,
will be the new normal, right?
yeah,
So, some things, wearing gloves will probably be part of the new normal. Wearing
yeah.
masks is already becoming fashionable, and this is fascinating. So, the first thing to get hit business wise when COVID started to spread rapidly around the world was luxury items. One of the biggest luxury items is fashion. So a lot of these fashion houses got hit and got hit hard. So do you know what they're already releasing on the market is, Calvin Klein face kerchiefs and, high-end designer face masks, medical grade face mask with style. So
Mhm.
don't be, and I've already started to see it, little emblems on people's faces and things like that. It's becoming a fashion statement, just like any other piece of clothing or accessory. So in the new world, let's say, month, 2 month, 10 months, however long it takes to normalize, you could walk into work, and it used to be that, if you were to wear a medical mask there, everybody would automatically assume you're sick with something, go home. Now it's, again, we're becoming desensitized. It's becoming normalized. So don't be surprised if half the people on your staff, even when they don't have to, still wear them because it's fashion.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So I think part of the process, and what this process is really, Carol, is grief. It's the
Mhm.
process of grief. It starts with fear, then it goes through the anger and the sadness and eventually acceptance. And I think here's the thing. If we look strictly at the facts, the government is offering us money to stay home, not because we're not capable of making money, not
Mhm.
because they think, oh, look at all the deadbeat citizens want a free handout. What they are saying is, listen, we're going to give you money because we want to stop this thing spreading, period.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there's no shame in taking the money. And I'm not telling you to, I'm just
Nope.
looking at other things here. I don't have children myself, so I don't know how that would play into me. Part of me thinks, I would do nothing to jeopardize that child. But then I also think, how would I want my child to see me when history writes this down? So
That's
there's all
exactly it.
kinds, yeah, there's all kinds of complexities to it that I don't get. So here's something I would encourage you to do, if I may.
Mhm.
Start structuring that new normal, right? So
Mhm.
far your new normal is sanitizing the house every day, but that's not necessarily a healthy thing.
There's
So we've talked doom and gloom. Let's come up with some positives. What are some things we can introduce to our new normal so that they can help you face that anxiety, face that depression from the past, face those panic attacks? Instead of walking in and having to take that deep breath to say, oh God, here I go
Mhm.
again. What can we do
Exactly what I
in the
say.
new normal? Of course it is. What can we do in this new normal so that we feel like we used to? What can we do to be happy?
Well, the happiest thing that makes the best thing right now in my life is spending time with my daughter during the day. Um, because I never got to before. She was at school all day, then I'd be at work all night. I barely saw my daughter. And it made me really sad before. And now we have every day, all day together.
Hmm.
And it's, the new norm is trying to do schoolwork with her too. I am not a teacher.
Right.
I'm not a teacher at all. And I am very thankful for her teacher again, because they've started sending schoolwork. So it's giving me ideas to do with her. And it's a bit easier for her to do it, because when I say it's not mommy that wants to do it, it's her teacher that's wanting her to do it. She is more willing to do it. Um, but it's spending time with my daughter that is the best thing out of all this craziness right now.
Hmm.
It's getting to know her again. It's reconnecting with her again.
And that's awesome. So there you go. So there's a lot of happiness, even in the midst of uncertainty, even in the
Yeah.
midst of challenges and unknowns about what could happen next. So that's awesome. Actually, I'm glad to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned schooling. Now I had a teacher on here last week. I think it was for people older than your daughter. What?
Okay.
So is there any online learning components for her at this point, or is it all just stuff sent from the teachers?
There is. So when this all first started, there was a lot of different ideas that the school board put out, like online resources. So we checked out a few of them, and there's one that my daughter loves. It's called Scholastic Canada. So you go on, and for her, she's in senior kindergarten. So for her grade, you log on, and it's stories. So there's one story that's read to her, and then there's another story that I read to her, and then there's like 3 different little activities that she has to do that go along with the story. Which she likes to do. But then the best thing that she figured out, because kids with computers are smart, she figured out how to go into the home page and pick any story she wants to have read to her. So she'll sit there for an hour, 2 hours, and just have stories read to her from the
Wow.
computer. So
Cool.
that's her favorite thing to do school wise. I've always collected school books and stuff along the way as well, though, for when she was younger, trying to teach her before she even started school. So we've kind of just gone back to basics as well. Printing
Right.
your letters, printing your numbers. She also has like fun activity sticker books that she likes to do. So we do those. But yes, the teacher sends out. So like this morning, she sent out daily activities to do for every day. So for instance, today, which we started before this call, she had to draw a picture of her all-time favorite thing that she's done so far while she's been at home. And then she has to write a sentence on the paper about what it's about. And that's her kind of literacy kind of homework. And then her math homework for later is we just have to play a board game that gets her to count. So we're going to play Trouble later. So it's kind of things like that. Like, and then there's something she has to do later in the week. It's called a reading scavenger hunt, where she has to look through all the books she has at home and find certain things on the hunt. And so it's all different kind of simple things for her because she's only 5, but she's still learning along the way.
Yeah.
But
That's really interesting.
I've talked to a homeschool friend of mine who's always homeschooled her children. Because as a mom, I feel guilty that she's not learning enough right now. So my good friend that I talked to that has always homeschooled her kids said, listen, don't forget that she's learning through everything she's doing in the day. So it kind of made me realize that if she's playing, she's being creative and using her mind. She's watching me in the kitchen cooking, and sometimes she's helping. So she's learning from that. She's getting her daily exercise because she has now a ginormous super trampoline in the backyard.
Cool.
So she's getting her daily exercise from that as well. So it's all those kind of things that made me realize that even if she's not sitting at a table doing schoolwork, she's still learning a great deal.
That's awesome. Now, we've also on this YouTube channel where we do this show, we've shared a bunch of free resources that have been made available by the government so that if there is extra things you want her to have access to, a lot of stuff is now no charge at all.
Yeah.
So that, you can make sure that if you want her to learn more, there's opportunities for her to learn more as well. Wow. So in some ways, the new norm sounds better than the old norm, which is exciting.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, we take what we can, right? We create
Yep.
happiness and reset ourselves to happiness where we can. And I think actually we had another guest on last week, a good friend of mine named Mike Reed. He's the co-founder of Dent Global, and what he's been working on his business clients with is this idea of reset and reinvent. Because you and I have been talking on a very personal level, but a lot of large companies are making a transition just like you've been, but they're doing it with thousands of employees. So a little bit of similar types of stress as well, just at a different scale. And the idea of reset and reinvent is exactly what you and I have been talking about. Take stock of where are we at today and who do I want to be? Who do I want my daughter to see? Who do I want to be tomorrow and remembered for tomorrow? So thank you, Carol, for your time with us today, talking
Thank
about
you.
some of the challenges you've been facing, that your family is going through. Thank you for being on the front lines. I mean, I know I haven't been and I don't want to be. And I'm fortunate enough that, I've always worked kind of from home. I miss doing live events right now. I miss sales calls. I miss hugs. I miss people. But at the same time, I'm very fortunate that my wife and I can both continue to make a living from our house. So we don't go out except for, once every now and then to resupply and be able to weather this out as long as it takes to go. So, thank you for what you are doing, and just know that you're loved and supported by myself, by my wife, Farah, and by everyone watching this video. I'm sure they understood and felt some of the emotion and vulnerability you shared. And all I can do is normally weigh on this by saying, stay home, stay safe, stay sane. Obviously, I don't know if that's an option for you, the staying home part, but do stay safe and stay sane. Before we wrap up, is there anything you would like to tell to our audience?
Honestly, please just think about why you're leaving the house. And if you do you truly 100% need to go to the grocery store for what you're heading there for? Or can you do without? And please, if you can do without, please don't come. That's all I ask.
So hashtag stay the fuck home.
Yes.
Yeah, it's my favorite hashtag right now. And, I'm not one for swearing, but it gets the point across. So
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, then have yourself a wonderful day and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you.